allowed to write brands like stores or products into our novels? Today, we're talking to everybody's favorite IP and entertainment lawyer, Tony, to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that is dedicated to all things intellectual property.
We've been talking a lot about what is okay and not okay to write inside of our stories from a legal perspective. One of the questions that I get a lot is whether or not we can write brands into our books, things like stores or products. Are we allowed to talk about Target and Walmart and Jif and whatever? Are we allowed to have those discussions inside of our book, or could we be at risk legally as we're writing, Tony?
Yeah, those are, I think, fair game as well. I think you're in every way allowed to bring in the real world into your narrative. And kind of what I alluded to in a previous video about, use of a trademark name, like, since we're talking about products or stores like a Target or JCPenney or Dockers, whatever, even down to like, let's say makeup brands, whatever. Any type of product like that, obviously there is some type of trademark that's been registered. These brands are very protective. They try to maintain a very robust IP portfolio. So they're going to take measures to protect it. And the easiest way you do it is you register the name of the good or the brand with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Now, one thing to bear in mind that I didn't say in the last video, but I'll say it here, is that when a brand registers a trademark, let's use Target, for example. When they register a trademark, they don't have full autonomy over the name Target. That's why you could use it in our everyday lexicon. What they have, basically the ability to use Target for, is related to classes of goods or services in the retail space. So there are 45, if I'm not mistaken, 45 classes of goods or services in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Okay. Within those classes, you can customize it into like some subcategory, if you will. But at the end of the day, 45 classes that could range from apparel to food to beverages to retail shops, even down to electronics and everything in between, legal services. So when Target registered the trademark for its name and any logo associated with the store, they likely registered it in classes of goods or services related to retail shopping, related to maybe even clothing because they have their own clothing line. Probably electronics because they have the Target app and so on and so forth. Right. So they're limited to just those classes. So that means that there can't be another retail store called Target that comes into the fray and starts selling, books and has partially a grocery store and has a clothing store and so on and so forth. Even a company that's called On Target that maybe is somewhat similar to Target, that maybe in a similar class of goods services, that could also bear some problem from some trademark point of view. So I'm saying all of this because when you write Target in your book, or if you were to write some other brand name, what you're doing is you're not calling yourself that particular good or service. You're not using your book to directly infringe on the trademark. What you're doing is you're merely describing a scene or describing that brand and setting up kind of a narrative for your reader to be aware of. So if your narrative is, my main character is walking to a Target and she's strolling through the aisles and she stumbles on, a box of Wheaties and she recalls to that one time that she was with her lover that one night. Yeah, there's my writing seal. The bottom line is now you've called out two different brands, Wheaties and Target. Right. What you're doing is you're describing those goods or services. That's a descriptive fair use. That's a defense that is afforded to everybody if you inevitably have to use a brand name to describe a specific good or service. And I think in this case that clearly applies. It could even be nominative fair use because you have to use the name of it to help again set some type of narrative. But if you're watching this and you feel even weary the slightest about using some type of real world brand name, make it up. I think that's totally fine as well. You can make something up that feels somewhat similar to it. I mean, oddly, I've seen this in a lot of movies. Actually, in particular, the only one that's coming to mind for whatever reason is Spider-Man Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the first animated movie. In that animated film, Miles Morales, who's the main protagonist, his father is a police officer, but he's not a police officer. And this is all based in New York, by the way. his father is not a police officer with the NYPD. He's a police officer with the PDNY. So even a manipulation of that brand name, not even a brand name, but it's more of a shield, the source identifier at the NYPD, for it could be enough. And I think it's creative enough that it kind of works. So very, very clearly, it's evident that there is no situation here where, if you used a real world brand name, that you're going to get in trouble. Could there be, a way to make yourself feel calm about it? Yeah, the way you do it is just change the name, make up something fugazi. That's kind of similar to what the real world brand name looks like, and you move on with your life.
So if you are a little bit nervous about writing about Target, it may be good for you and for your own mental health to use on Target, as Tony suggested earlier in today's episode. Tony, this has been...
You didn't hear it from me, though. You did not hear it from me.
Oh, not a peep. Not a peep. If you have further questions, you can drop those down below. And as always, you can reach out to Tony for more help with keeping yourself legally protected inside of the publishing industry. Tony, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor.
Hit the subscribe and notification bell because we're dropping daily videos to help you level up inside of the writing and reading world and to make sure you're legally protected as you start your journey inside of the publishing industry. If you have questions, go ahead and drop those down below. And if you have topics you'd like to see discussed, we would love for you to drop them in the comments as well, legal or otherwise, inside of the publishing industry. We'll see you in the next episode.